All right, and welcome to part 3 of this video series for how to generate a weekly revenue report. All right, so here we are picking up where we left off. We have columns for our drivers, customer, total income per load, mileage, and deadhead. So this is looking good, but what we want to do is we want to take it a step further to calculate certain pieces of information that this report just doesn't generally know to give us. We have to do a couple manual maneuvers to give the report kind of the bird's eye overview for certain pieces of information, like how much total revenue did each driver generate? How much mileage did each driver generate or drive for the week? What were the average rate per miles driven for each truck? All right. And so that's what we want to calculate manually here in this next step. All right. So here's how we do that. What we want to do, we'll just create some space here, and we want to hide this column. I think this is one that's kind of going to get in our way. So what we want to do is we want to add a new column called revenue, mileage. And yes, we already have one for mileage, but this is going to be like a summary mileage calculation. Okay, so you'll see what I mean here in a moment. And RPM for rate per mile. All right. And so that's looking good. So what we want to do is let's remove the styling here for these cells. Let's take away the gray fill color. Just eliminate that. And we'll highlight our column headers, and we'll do something like this. All right, and I'll just keep it kind of off. There's nothing that we can do about, or at least to my knowledge, this italicized column headers here. So I'll just keep it uniform and italicize these as well. And we might as well go ahead and bold this entire top row. And what else do I want to do? I think I'll go ahead and center. I'll go ahead and just call this. And then I'll center these column headers. We'll do that. And then so now what I want to do is I want to separate each group by driver. So what I want to do is I will want to do grab that row, and so 05 over here, I'll grab this row. And then also grab 7. I'm kind of going backwards on purpose, so I don't, every time I click start my selection in the pivot table, it kind of wants to pop up that whole, it thinks I'm trying to do something in the pivot table, so it pops up that dialog box there, and I'm just trying to keep that off the screen. So I kind of have to go start on this side and work my way back to the left. All right, and then so what I'll do next is I'll just add a little separator line there for the bottom border. And then so now I can have a clear separation between all my drivers and what they've done separately. So what I want to do next is I want to, I'll I'll actually see what I mean. This thing keeps popping up. I want to center all of these cells here. So I'm just going to center align all of that. And what I want to do though is I want to take the total income for Cornell and I want to drop it in this cell here. And then I want to do the same thing for his mileage plus his deadhead. So including the deadhead, and I want to drop it in there. And then I want to, do a calculation for his total rate per mile. And I want to do that for each truck. All right. So what I want to do is I want to take these two cells and I want to merge them. Okay. I'll just do that for this whole row here. And then so what I'm going to do is I'm going to call in a formula that will just basically do a simple math calculation to add up his income and drop it in. So what I'll do is I'll select equals. I'll select this cell plus this cell. Then I'll hit enter. So now I have the sum total of both of these amounts. Okay. And if I wanted to kind of get it off the bottom row there and kind of put it in the middle, I'll go to here, my vertical align, and I'll just select middle. And it'll bring it up. And so I'll do the same thing with my mileage. I'll select equals on my keyboard. I want this cell plus this cell plus this cell equals total miles driven. And there's no commas here because we have to add. We'll have to add that over here. We can do number. And so we have our comma, but we also have these two decimal placeholders. We don't want that, so we'll just eliminate that. Same thing. All right, and then so now what we want to do is we want to take the total revenue and divide it by the total miles. And that'll give us our rate per mile. All right, so we'll do equals 8550 divided by total mileage, hit enter, and then there we have our rate. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just do this for the rest of these drivers, so I won't make you sit through that. But that's how you would go about doing that. So I'll be back once I've calculated the rest of the drivers. All right, so we're back, and we have all of our values inserted into our spreadsheet now. And so now let's move on to the final step here. All right, the final step is to add up all the totals for our fleet, and we want to separate it out by semi trucks versus a hot shot. So we have 4 semi trucks and 1 hot shot. Okay, so this is what we want to do here. We'll just add totals for a semi. Come down, we'll add a total line for our hot shot. And we'll do a total fleet. And we'll add some separating lines. Add some separating lines here to the bottom of this. All right, so there we have that. So what we want to do is we want to just drop down the total revenue for our semis, for our hot shot, and do the same thing for the mileage. And the RPMs will be separate. We don't want to add those up because we want those to reflect the appropriate category. So what we want to do is we'll do for a semi, We'll select the row that we want the total for our semi trucks to appear in. We'll select that, and then we'll say sum. We'll come up here to our functions button, and we'll say sum. And then it'll ask us to select a range. So we just want the 4 semi trucks. This is a semi truck, this is a semi truck, semi truck, semi truck. The last row is a hot shot. So we want to stop just short of the hot shot row. Okay, so we will select 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then hit enter. And that'll give us a grand total of all of our semi truck activity. And so for our hot shot, we'll do a separate calculation for the hot shot. I'll combine the rows here, we'll merge them up, and we'll just bring a simple call up from this row here, from this cell. We'll just say this cell equals this cell. We'll do pretty much the same. And so we'll do the same thing for our mileage. Go ahead and merge those while I'm down here. And then so for the mileage for the semi trucks, we'll do the same thing. We'll come to our functions, sum, and then we'll just do the same selection here. How to bring our total miles. We'll do the same thing for our hot shot. Matter of fact, what I want to do is unmerge those. Equals okay, and then we'll do the same thing for actually no, we don't want the sum. What we want is we want to take the average of our semi truck rate per mile. So we'll do a different calculation. We'll do equals parentheses this cell plus this cell plus this cell plus this cell divided by however many cells there are, so 4 cells. Okay, and that'll give us the average rate per mile for all of our semi truck. And same thing for our hot shot. We'll just say this cell equals this cell. Total fleet numbers. We'll do our sum function again. We'll do total miles sum function again. That's it for that section. All of this, I think I'll bold it. We'll go ahead and bold it. Then what we want to do is we'll add another section down below that displays our drivers, if they used any tarps, if there was any detention, if there was a layover, and if there was any other miscellaneous expenses. And so what I do to document if there were any tarps used is I'll go to the rate con folder for this week and I'll add tarp in the name of the file. So be JF